Hey guys, this is our last, I promise, last podcast or vlog rather on prudence, and it's about a topic that I didn't get to in my last one, and it's how responsible am I for the evil? How responsible am I for the evil other people commit? Obviously, none of us in this world are perfect. There's two perfect people, Jesus and Mary. Last time I checked, you weren't one of them. Neither am I. So that means we're going to be making mistakes, and the people next to me are going to be making mistakes. And if I know they're making a mistake and I could have done something about it, am I responsible for that evil? The the principles behind this are also a part of the virtue of prudence, and a mature person has to factor all these things in to our own behavior. Um, Here's the three categories. The first is when you are actually helping someone do an evil thing because you want the evil thing to get done as well. That's called formal cooperation. It's one of your vocab terms because you're formally, officially helping an evil to happen because you want it to happen. That would be like making fun of someone else that's being made fun of with your buddy, okay, right? You're actually doing the same thing. It's always bad. Shouldn't do it. If someone else is committing evil, you shouldn't do it. You shouldn't want it to happen, period. Second category is where you don't want the evil to happen that's happening close to you, but you're so close that you're still responsible for it because you could have done something about it. Or your presence was just helping it, even if you weren't willing it to happen. This might have been someone, say, in the crowd just watching or walking by the two other students make fun of a third student. That's called proximate cooperation, proximate material cooperation. Proximate just means in close proximity, so you're close to it. You're not wanting it to happen, but that doesn't really matter because your intentions are just circumstances. Remember, if you're going to evaluate an action, you have to look at what you're doing, what's the end you are hoping to come out of it, and what are the circumstances of it. And just not wanting something to occur, right? What's the situation you wish to bring about? Um, isn't a sufficient, just wanting something not to occur isn't actually grounds for making it okay to not say anything. So you'd still be responsible for that evil. That's called proximate material cooperation. The last kind of cooperation is where you're so far removed from an evil that's occurring that you can't be held responsible. So the question is, that's called remote material cooperation. So proximate means close, remote, like your remote for your TV, right? You can be far away from your TV and you can still control it. That means remote material cooperation. So you were helping it in some way, but in a pretty innocent way, we'll say, or a way that was pretty negligible. So an example for that might be, let's say you make cars, right? You're in the car business. Maybe you sell cars, and you sell a car to a guy who then uses the car to drive it in to do it for an act of terrorism and drives it into a huge group of people. Now, you gave him the car, right? You sold him the car. You're actually helping him. But you're so far removed from the actual sin of that man driving that car into the group of people that it's pretty negligible how responsible you are. Now, if this sounds like it could be a gray area, the answer is yes, it could be. And the principle is only going to give you principles. And the church isn't going to give you hard, fast answers for every single situation that could possibly come up. That'd be impossible. But the church is going to say, consider these following things. How close are you to the evil? The closer you are to the evil, the better your excuse better be. You know, a car, if I'm selling a car to a guy, that's one thing. If I am closer to the situation, I'm just lending a guy my car to drive into a group of people. That's a little bit different than just selling it, right? I'm a few blocks removed when I'm just selling the car. It's a silly example, but to consider the difference. The closer you are to it, the harder it's going to be to make an excuse for it. Secondly, the greater the evil that's being perpetrated, right? If you're just throwing spitwads at Mr. D'Amico's car, that's one thing. If you are actively bullying another student, right, that's a little bit different thing. One's more grave than the other. And if you're helping with that, you better have a pretty good reason for why you're not doing anything about that. And the last thing is you got to factor in your bad example and the scandal that you are giving to other people. That's not a word that we think of very much, but scandal is where I give someone a bad example because of my actions or my lack of actions. So Prudence then has to ask, all right, how close am I? How great is the evil? Am I actually helping this happen? And if so, what do I do? It's also worth mentioning that just because Prudence may say, or Prudence may say you could behave this way and you could be free of conscience. That doesn't mean that you should act that way. So, for example, what's a good example? Put me on the spot. If a person, let's say a person could actually listen to or go watch a movie that was just kind of on the border, like say it was PG-13 or something like that. You could go watch it because for you, it's not going to draw you into sin. It's not going to put you in a tricky spot. But just because you could do that and it's okay for you doesn't mean that you necessarily should go do that, because maybe by doing that, you're going to be giving a bad example to another person that says, oh, they're watching that movie, so clearly it's not a problem. So maybe I can do it, right? This is a hard thing to swallow for a lot of us, right? Because we like being the boss of our own selves and we like other people to be responsible for themselves. But that's not how we work. That's not how God set it up, right? We're in community with each other. So in summary, there's three situations, three principles to think about when you're evaluating your actions. Am I formally cooperating with an evil? Always bad. Am I cooperating with an evil because I'm so close to it, even though I don't want it? I'm also doing a bad thing. Can't do it. Am I so far removed that I can't be held responsible? And if that's the case, that could be okay. Should I still do that, knowing that that's the case? These are all the elements of prudence, and really without this whole vision of prudence, of everything that we've said, it's hard to see how the other virtues can even get off the ground. And you'll probably see we'll come back to this a lot, and a lot of tricky questions that come up in morality come back to applying these moral principles from prudence. So if you're looking to have a conversation about this stuff, you might ask yourself, when was the time where you really had to wrestle with how you were helping another bad action or a bad decision of one of your friends take place, and what did you do about it? For Life in Christ, St. James Academy, Mr. D'Amico, signing off.